So we said we're going to film some content and answer a lot of questions, and I put out a thing saying, what would you like to know? And I've had some amazing suggestions, a lot of questions from you guys. So I'm going to answer them sort of quick fire right now to get as many in as possible. And I'll go into more detail maybe on future podcasts that I'm going to do. So here goes. I'm just going to answer some questions. So we got from Cole Stewart, 97. What's your thought process when creating a new concept for a dance? So I would say on Strictly Come Dancing in particular, the first thing is at the beginning of the series, you put a whole list of songs and concepts that you would like to do, but that's before you find out your partner. Once you've got your partner, you have a clearer idea of the sort of concepts and songs that you'd like to use, and then you put that to the BBC. The BBC will either say, yeah, that's a great idea, or how about this, because we're not sure about that idea. So it's a bit of a two-way thing between us and the producers. Then once you've got your dance and your song and your concept decided, I think about the character of the dance. So what character am I playing? What character is my partner playing? What's the narrative? What's the story? Where do we go from the beginning of the routine to the end of the routine? What is the story of this dance? And I build that. Then I would say I think about what the ending is going to be choreographically, like where on the floor we're going to end and what type of ending. I would then go for how we're going to start, and then I would think of one main part in the middle, which is probably a big part of the music, where we want to do something specific and try and get the audience clapping and try and make the routine interesting. Once you've got those three things in place, and the character and the story, then I just start feeling it out. I play the music hundreds and hundreds of times and listen to it and just start dancing and see what comes and start filling in choreography around that base of a narrative, character, the beginning, the end, and a middle section. So that's, in a nutshell, how I go about creating a new dance on Strictly. When you work out how many rest days do you have, from Nikki Phillips, I'll be honest, I don't work out a lot, perhaps not as much as I should do. Especially if I'm dancing all the time. If I'm on tour or in the middle of Strictly Come Dancing in particular, I don't really do much workout because I do so much cardio. There's so much dancing involved that I'm just exhausted. If I had to do anything else, I'd be putting a lot of strain on my muscles. And for some people, that's what they like. That's how they sort of keep themselves going. But I suppose in my particular style, I have a really sort of energetic style. So I feel at the end of a day of dancing, I feel exhausted. So I need more rest than workout, I suppose. So every rest day that I have, I'll try and rest as much as possible rather than be working out. Personal one from Lottie: are you and Karen actually split up? Because if so, that's really sad. We privately, as we've said before, privately we're not together anymore. Professionally, we are. Professionally, we're in the middle of our tour at the moment, at the time of this being recorded, and we've always just had a passion for dancing, and we were dance partners first, really. Like we were dancing in the same company first before we started dating. So dancing's very much the passion, and we've always had a very clear goal about what we wanted to do with our dancing, and having our own tour and things like that, and what we wanted to do with it was a very clear idea before any of that happened. So that's what we've kind of stayed with, and we're still very good friends. And yeah, we're very good like that. And I know I've been asked this a lot recently, obviously, and I can't speak for everyone else, but I think people expect that if something like that happens in a relationship, then things will just completely fall apart and there'll be nastiness and it's all very difficult. But I think it doesn't have to be like that. As if you're kind to one another and you just take the time to work it out properly, you don't have to go down that route of everything being a big disaster. So we're just trying to be as kind to each other as we can and work professionally, basically. Amy says, how old are you when you started Ballroom and Latin? I started when I was 9, and now I'm 5th in the country in Ireland for 13-year-olds. Well done, Amy. That's really good. I'm really pleased for you. Hope you're enjoying it. I started dancing when I was 4 years old. My mum and dad were dancers, so I started going to dance classes. Like basically, if no one could babysit, like grandma and granddad or a babysitter or whatever, my mum and dad would take me along to dance classes. and I apparently, as far as I'm told, just started copying what was going on at the back of the room and trying to dance myself, just copying all the routines. And as far back as I can remember, I've always danced. I can't remember a time before dancing. It's always been as normal for me as sort of waking up, eating breakfast, going to school, you know, that sort of thing. There's always been dance there as well. So I started very early. I probably started competing when I was about 6, started dancing with my sister. And competed right up until I was sort of in my 20s, and then I decided that competitions weren't for me anymore, and I decided I wanted to be involved in shows and theatre, and that kind of thing was more important to me. I liked being part of a company as opposed to competing against other people. That's not to say that that's what everyone should do, that's just how I felt at the time. But I know people that started dancing very late as well, so it's not impossible for people to be really successful when they start dancing late. I know people that started dancing at 18 and became really successful dancers, people that just sort of fell into it. So you can start at any age really, and can have a great time being a dancer. What else have we got? How do you manage the stress of waiting for the Strictly call? How does it affect your plans every year? Yeah, you do set aside the last half of the year for Strictly. At this point, I have no plans to not do Strictly Come Dancing. So I do set aside that half of the year, and you do sit in hope that you're going to get that phone call from the BBC. And there's no logic to it. There's no sort of, you know, it's going to be on this date. Sometimes it's earlier in the year, sometimes it's later in the year, and you just wait. And then once they have had an initial chat with you about whether or not they'd sort of like you to be part of the next series, then, you know, you sort of asked not to say anything until everything's signed and sealed, because then they, I'm sure, have to go through a process of booking their celebrities, and whilst they might say to you, oh yeah, we'd like you to be a part of it, if the celebrities they get are all taller than me, then probably I wouldn't be involved. You know, there's a lot of factors involved, so it takes a little bit of time, and you do wait, and obviously you get offers for things later in the year that you have to say no to, so you have to hold your nerve really. And it can be stressful. There's no managing it, because, you know, if that's the job that you want, then you wait and wait for it. But luckily, I've been asked to do Strictly this year, 2018, and yeah, hopefully be a part of it for a long time. What have we got now? This is interesting. Would you like to learn another language? If so, would you consider learning British Sign Language? P.S. Loved you and Susan at the Strictly Come Dancing tour this year, so in Glasgow. Well, thank you for that. So this is really interesting. I've also had another comment about this from somebody who is deaf, and so that they enjoy watching dancing. I think this is really interesting because sign language is basically communication through movement, which is what dancing is. So I actually think it would be a really fascinating concept. I saw a show that was choreographed by Arthur Pitter, who is an amazing choreographer, where a lot of the movements were based on sign language. And apparently, so I'm told, the deaf people in the audience could understand certain things that were being said that people who don't know sign language wouldn't understand. They would just see it as movement and dance. Which I thought was such an interesting concept. So maybe that is something that I would like to look into at some point. It's a great suggestion as a language to learn. I have actually thought about that before, and about maybe incorporating it into dance in some way as well. So yes. Right, thanks everybody. I've got to go get ready for the show now. Basically got to put my makeup and hair on, ready for another show here tonight. I'll answer some more of your questions soon.